Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Needed something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. I'm with the gang, we packing. We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Running drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She asked me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so sleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no home, you niggas know me. I'm about to body the beat. I keep me a hottie with me. She wanna for a fee. Give me that for free. Keep me some money on me. Smoking the gas key. You with me, sheesh. But need cheap keep.
I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
Yeah, head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test, now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, so nobody's into me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah. Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it, now I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait. Told him this would happen and we not a minute late. Seen him down bad, now they tryna hate. Same ones try to hit me for the raise. Got a mill, now they coming with a blaze. Check the numbers, fam, I swear I'm getting paid. I'm a Don just like the Perrier. It's one time when I'm looking at a face. On the low like I'm pushing up the bass. Come down and I'll meet him at a gate. Got a check and I bought myself a place. They get some money and they blow it on bait. I don't flex, but I'm pushing all the weight. Told them all, I swear I got it's what it takes. Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it now, I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait. Told him this would happen and we not a minute late.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Mafia, oh man, 122 or 123,000, what is it? 123,360. $123,000, guys. Not too bad for Bitcoin, pushing up into a new all-time high. However, we are tapping into some key levels of resistance. Are we about to see this? Obviously, we are getting a little bit of a pullback here. Are we about to see this continue to much lower prices? Or I don't want to say much lower prices, but are we going to see this continuation down for a little bit bigger of a retracement? Obviously, guys, I have been leaning, or not leaning, but we've been macro bullish, long-term bullish here, looking for those all-time highs to come in as we are looking to move into that final stage of the bull market. Yes, I said the final stage, guys. I'm sorry. But although it's the final stage, it is the most exciting stage. But we are coming into that Fibonacci extension zone that we looked at last week. We were looking at that between about $124,000 and $117,000. Obviously, we have pushed up into that entire zone, and we are rejecting from that last extension level. So are we going to be able to see a little bit of a cool off? We do see some signals on Market Cypher B calling for a little bit of a continuation down here. So I'm going to break down the charts for you guys and give you all those key levels of support and resistance where we're going to be looking for the next trades, the next bounces, the next rejections, and maybe we'll cover some higher targets here as we push into, as we already push into new all-time highs. But as we approach, hopefully the last part of this bull market, guys, I want to talk about some higher targets as well. Obviously, we do have some targets we've looked at, but I'm going to break down the macro here as we're starting a new week. We'll cover the high time frames. I'll jump down to the lower time frames. Again, give you guys all those local key levels. And my plan here, as I continue to hold my long position, as we continue to hit target after target for Bitcoin, absolutely incredible, guys. And hopefully, we could start to get those altcoins to move. So shout out to the Candle Mafia. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys for being here. Shout out to Perry. He says, salute, Frankie. Shout out to you, man. Welcome in. Shout out to Perry. We got Dylan in the chat. What is going on? We got Servando Estrada. Says, I think Frankie is in a short. Shout out to Servanda. I am actually not holding a short right now. I am only chilling in my long position. But I'm going to talk to you guys. Even though I'm not in a short position, we can look at market Cypher B and see for a potential continuation down. I'm going to break everything down on the charts for you guys. So shout out to Servanda. Servando Estrada. Pretty shocking I'm not in a short just now. But, I'll break down exactly what I'm looking at for a potential, incoming rejection here. Let's see. Shout out to PB Stack in the chat. Said, what up, Mafia? Welcome in, bro. Thank you for being here. We got Regular Guy Trades. We got Dutchy in the chat. K Diggity. Phoebe says, hi, K Diggity. Welcome in. Let's see who else. We got Bison9 in the chat. Nick Dunn, DMB Smurf. Jennifer. Erica, long time no see. Shout out to Erica. She was in the premium live stream just a few minutes ago, or like an hour ago. We're going to break down the charts for you guys. Let's see. Show some love. Hit that like button. Yeah, guys, don't forget to smash that like button. If we get, we'll go for 1,000 likes. If we get 1,000 likes on tonight's live stream, we'll give away $200 in Solana on Friday night's live stream. On top of the 10 bags of ADA, we'll give away. And if we get 1150, we'll add some Frankie Candles hats to the giveaways as well. Shout out to ADD Dad tuning in. Welcome in, bro. And shout out to the mods, guys. Show the mods some love in the chat. They help us out endlessly with this YouTube channel. So if you love them as much as we do, show them some love in the chat. But without further ado, guys, we got a lot to look at here on the charts. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the chart. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are, guys. Obviously, Bitcoin getting that nice push up into about $123,236. And as you guys know, we have been looking at some key targets sitting up. Oh, no. Come on. Don't lag out on me now, TradingView. But as you guys know, we have been looking at some key Fibonacci extension targets. I'm going to go ahead and pull some of them here. The next targets to the upside, let me pull from this high to the low, pull up those Fibonacci extension targets, right? We were looking at this major zone starting at about 115,329. Pushing all the way up into about $120,629. And as you guys can see, obviously, first we pushed into the kind of first zone here between these two levels, and then obviously over the weekend, if we were to push to the upside, that next local target was going to be sitting here at about $120,629. We have now come up and kissed this level, and we are currently getting a little bit of turbulence here, guys. Now, obviously, this is resistance, and as we've been talking about ever since we got this breakout, I'm going to bring up the higher time frames and go over kind of like a simple idea of what I'm looking for to play out here. But as we push into this resistance, guys, we do have to understand, although this is exciting, there can be some resistance here, but as of right now, with money flow being in the green on many different time frames, the 2-day was that big time frame that we were looking at recently, indicating that we were very likely to get that that is a cross. Looking for that continuation to the upside to start that bigger breakout, eventually, hopefully entering into the final stages of this bull market where Bitcoin can finally go for its final all-time high. The altcoins can finally start to get a run. I will take a look at Bitcoin dominance as well as total 3, guys. Not only are we seeing Bitcoin dominance start to get that little pullback that we looked at last week, but if we can get that to continue down and hopefully lose its volume profile, we also have total 3 cracking above some very, very key levels of resistance. So I'll show you guys that in a second as well once we get to the altcoins. But overall, guys, we are now sitting in that beautiful Fibonacci zone. And if we do get a pullback, I'm going to cover the local levels here in a minute. I want to go over the higher time frames first. But as of right now, just simple kind of how we got to where we are, right? 2-day money flow crossover with the monthly green dot on the Heikinashi candles on market Cypher B was making us start to look at the idea, right? This is where I pulled up that weekly time frame on Bitcoin, looking at how the 2-day money flow crossovers have typically given us the next leg up in the bull market, right? We get a little turbulence, lose the bull market support band, money flow crosses over into the green. You get that big ride to the upside, that next big leg up, consolidation, lose that bull market support band, and then you flip above it. 2-day money flow crosses over into the green, right? As we all know, right? 2-day money flow crossover, next leg up, consolidation, lose the bull market support band, 2-day money flow crossover, next leg to the upside. And this is where we were looking, and this is really what kept me with my bullish bias long term. After we got that drop down to $75,000, looking for the higher low and another higher high to break structure to the upside, putting in new all-time highs. But as you can see, we lost that bull market support band, got back above it, and then we had that 2-day money flow crossover, which in the past with the monthly green dot has really seen that play out perfectly. So Any pullbacks here, guys, at this point with the high time frame money flow like the 2-day in the green, because we are going to talk about potential pullbacks if they do come in, but I am still for sure bullish here for potential until this money flow decides to change direction, right? We are going to be looking for higher lows and higher highs. Now, when we take a look at the higher time frames, guys, I'm going to pull up those, and you can see how beautiful these Fibonacci extension targets are, guys. And for what it's worth here, if we do break out, I'm going to talk about the next targets I'm watching to the upside, coming in at about 130,000 to 134,500. That is going to be the next target to the upside. So I'll just mark this out. Every time we mark these out, they wind up getting hit. I'm not saying we have to come up there right now, but if we do break out and get another leg up, this is probably going to be that next medium-term zone that I'll be looking for price to come into. You guys know we have macro targets at about 137 to 138K, so keep an eye on that as well, but I'll cover this a little bit more in detail in just a second. But before we continue on here, guys, I do want to cover the higher time frames. Obviously, we've had this clean breakout, not only of our local volume profile here, which this is going to come into play in just a minute, but obviously, we have gotten that beautiful breakout of this larger term range. This is the macro volume profile with that $97,000 POC. And this is a strong breakout, guys, right? This has follow through. It's got volume. It is a clear bullish breakout. So again, the idea here until money flow turns, crosses back over into the red, you can see the 2-day VWAP starting to roll over. You can even see the daily red dot is potentially looking to print here soon as well. So, again, as we tap resistance, if we do get that pullback, I'm going to talk about those levels to the downside. But first off, I do just want to cover this level right here, which is kind of a zone of confluence here, right? Macro volume profile. I'm going to pull this to the current price action, right? You can see here sitting at about call it $109,000. This isn't really the key level that I'm looking at, but just to kind of show you guys, right? You have this kind of sideways range. You deviate out of the profile. You get back in, back to the POC, back to the high. And then we have clearly gotten that nice breakout of this range. Very, very clean. Very, very nice. Very, very technical, if you will. So again, any pullbacks, right? We're going to talk about pullbacks today. I'm not super bearish, right? But I will be looking, even if we do have to pull back to this structure, this is what we covered last week, right? Even if we have to pull back into this zone, we can still look for higher lows and higher highs until that money flow crosses back into the red on the higher time frames. That is going to be my bias here for the long-term continuation up. And it wasn't just the 2-day money flow with the green dot on the Heikin-Ashi candles. But we also had many other things that we looked at here, guys. We had the stock, we had the S&P, the NQ. We had a lot of things making new all-time highs. We also had Coinbase, which was kind of front-running Bitcoin on its little bull flag that it created before the big breakout. We were wondering if that was going to be a front run. It absolutely was. So, many reasons to look for this move to the upside. It's not just the fact that it's like, hey, even down here, putting in that higher low, like there's many reasons to be looking for that higher high. When you understand the 4-year cycle, when you understand just the money cycle in general, right? Understanding that rate cuts are very likely coming probably in September, we hope. Maybe we get a surprise rate cut this month. I don't know. But September is really the expected time. So with that coming down the pipes, we could also be fueling up for altcoins to get a move, and Bitcoin pushing into new all-time highs just perfectly lines up with that. And we even talked about some trend-based Fibonacci time levels that I am going to be looking at for a potential top in the market, right? And I'm talking bull market top. And right now, not that we can't continue up or can't go past this zone, but that level does bring us into about October, right? I would say I think it's like October 15th to October 25th is kind of that area where that date that I will be paying attention to. Not just because we saw similar things happen in the past, but this is actually based off trend-based Fibonacci time. So we will be looking at that. Maybe I'll make a video about that to explain it a little bit more in detail. But it does just look like this overall might be that final stage of the bull market, guys. Bitcoin gets into that new actual all-time high, that blow off top, and then we could start to see the altcoins run if they decide to start cutting rates, which eventually they will, right? We're just kind of waiting for that to happen to indicate that we're going to see those big moves up on the altcoins. And again, I will take a look at Total 3 in just a minute. But overall, guys, the biggest level of support to look at here on the medium time frames is going to be, I'm going to be watching this level right here at about $110,000. Why is this so key? Well, number one, it is the value area high of the range, right? So if we did wind up getting a pullback, this is kind of the level that you want to hold, right? Let's say we do continue back down, and there are signs on Market Cypher B for a potential correction. I can't promise we're going to come down to 110K. Again, I am going to cover all the levels with you, but if we take a look here at the 8-hour, we do have, not only are we coming into those key levels of resistance that I just pulled up, that Fibonacci extension zone, right? Not only are we, getting a rejection from the top of that fib zone, but We also have the 8-hour bearish divergence. We have higher highs on our price action. We have lower highs on our momentum waves with that red dot printing. And if we come on over here, when we see those 8-hour red dots, guys, we go right down to that 30-minute time frame and check on money flow. And as you can see, money flow is starting to cross over into the red here. So if we can get that 8-hour red dot to confirm, this 8-hour money flow could indicate, you know, maybe we get a retracement, but there is a possibility that we can just drop from here based off this money flow. If that next 30-minute red dot prints, we are, in my opinion, probably at least going to take out this local low right here, but it could also just kind of start that continuation of the trend to the downside. And don't get scared. I know it's like, oh my God, we're going to dump. But again, this is going to be looked at as a lackluster retracement for higher lows and higher highs over the long term. But, you know, when we have money flow coming out on the 30-minute with an 8-hour bearish divergence, typically it does indicate more downside to come. So we have to be aware of that. And again, I am just holding my long position from down here at this POC. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Same trade I've been showing. This was entered probably like 6 days ago, up $8,400 on this position. I am going to continue to trail up my stop loss here, but I have not taken profits off this trade just yet, guys. I am just, stop loss obviously in profit. I'm going to continue to actively manage this, but again, if we're going to continue to put in higher lows and higher highs, that is my general bias here, so I am just chilling in that long position, letting it pay me out. And yeah, this is not too bad, but we cannot ignore these signs on Market Cypher B for a potential pullback to come, so be aware of that. Watch that 30-minute money flow. If we get the pullback, we're probably going to be up here tomorrow talking about that 30-minute money flow crossover, starting the continuation to the downside. And for what it's worth, right, you could potentially look at this as some kind of a bearish pennant. Not that I would trade just a pattern like that, but it does look like some sort of bearish consolidation, right? So don't be scared if we get a little bit more of a pullback. It would be kind of warranted here in my own personal opinion, but the question is, how far can we go? So first off, I'm going to bring up the local levels of support. Obviously the higher time frames, I would be okay, right? Even if it gets a little bit scary here, we get that initial breakout. I would not be that nervous if we came down to retest this structure, but this is really where you want to start to bounce, right? We do not want to get below that value area high. Once we get below about $110,000, let's say we do continue down, you lose that 110K value area high. POC is probably next. Lose the POC, go to the value area low, and at that point, guys, you are at risk of getting accepted into your macro value area high, and that is sitting still at $105,750. So, if we did come down here, I would really prefer to just bounce off these structural highs. Even if we have to dip slightly into that value area high, I would like that to be a wick. But at the end of the day, right, it would not be uncalled for to see a retest of those highs before a continuation up if we get a bigger retracement. Once we lose 110,000, this is where I start to set my targets a little bit lower. Doesn't mean that the run is over, the bull market is over necessarily, right? But, we might just be able to get a little bit more of a retracement. So just be aware of that. But the local levels of support that I will be watching, number one, obviously, we do have this little consolidation right here where we have a little bit of a volume profile. So I will bring this up. We also have some confluence in here. I'm going to bring this up. We got daily MPOCs sitting here, and I'm going to draw this out as a little bit of a zone. We have a weekly MPOC, a daily MPOC. We also have a daily horizontal level down here. And if we start to pull some Fibonacci retracements from there to the high, you guys can see this, you start to build out that confluence, right? We want to find the areas where we have multiple levels lining up at the same spot to identify where we have a high probability of a reaction. So if we do continue down, this is going to be the level to watch. Daily MPOC, weekly MPOC, daily horizontal, daily MPOC down here. And then we also have the golden pocket 786 retracement. The first daily MPOC comes in at about 118,649. It is impossible for me to know if you are just going to come down here and test this golden pocket daily MPOC and get a bounce. We don't know if we're going to make it down to the weekly or the 786, but this is going to be the general zone. If I were to draw this out with a box, the full zone does sit between about 118.7 all the way down to the daily MPOC at about 116,650, right? So this will be that big zone of support. Again, I typically set these up into different levels. I will typically look for the first position down here at the golden pocket daily MPOC, and then you have the backup support of the weekly and the daily down here. And then if we lose those, right, I typically do look at the 786 as a separate level. Now, this is also confluent with our value area, right? If we pull this value area, actually, let me pull it before that breakout, right? This does line up pretty closely with this consolidation. I won't really, unless I go down for an entry on the lower time frames, I'm not really going to look at this as a volume profile, but this is just an area of value, right? This could just act as a magnet, and it could also just give you support, but it is quite a big zone. So we're going to have to look at this, right, as we approach in, right? If we get the bullish confirmations, we can look for the bounce here. If that does not hold, right? Also, what does money flow look like at this point? We're going to have to assess the price action as it develops, but for what it's worth, right? Golden Pocket Daily MPOC and weekly, right? And then underneath that, you have the 786 daily MPOC. And this would be in the case of an aggressive higher low, right? We come down, right? You put in the higher low. You don't sweep the lows. Now, I will say this, guys. Underneath this range, we do have a little bit of liquidity. If I pull up the liquidation heat maps, let me pull this up real quick. Bada boom. Let me just refresh it. Take a sip of the Aztecian Cactus Orca water. Oh, yo, shout out to Golden gifting those 50 Frankie Candles memberships. Let's go. Shout out to Golden. Yo, Golden has been on an absolute tear with these Fibonacci memberships. With these Frankie Candles memberships. Shout out to Golden. Thank you so much. I must be late to this because I assume there was a ton of Golden emojis. There they are. Shout out to Golden. If you just got a membership, drop some love for Golden in the chat. Yo, shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat. He said, you were off by 1 day watching the live stream from 45,000... Told you guys. He's in the private jet, guys, from $45,000, $45,000 feet. Starlink rocks. Check DMs. Shout out to Golden. I will check my DMs right after the live stream. You were off by 1 day. Let me know what you mean specifically by that, Golden, and I will check on it. But shout out to Golden. Thank you for that. Just tuning in from the plane, bro. Absolutely insane. And, let's go. Shout out to Jason Casper with the super chat as well. Shout out to Jason, bro. Thank you so much for that. He says, happy 120K. God bless. Shout out to Jason, bro. Thank you for that. Jason, what do you think? Bear market? Are we going down? What are your targets, bro? Let me know. I'm interested. And I'm going to talk about some of my higher targets in just a minute. Shout out to Jason Casper. Let's get it, bro. Let me know what you think in the chat, man. And come on, chat. Where's it at? There we go. Boom. Shout out to Jason and Golden, bro. Jason, are you on the jet with Golden? They're just up there together. Shout out to you guys. Let's see. Bitcoin only goes up. Shout out to Tootsie Cruz. Shout out to you, man. Or Tootsie Cruz. Bitcoin up only $1 million incoming, guys. Guaranteed. I'm just kidding. I have to say that. Not financial advice. Let's see. Golden with the donation write-ups. Yo, shout out to Philly Skills. But let's see. Shout out to D Petty Crypto. Said, I longed the top and wrote it to the new top at 123K. Let's go. Shout out to D Petty Crypto. As long as that was in profit, bro. Can't hate on that. Shout out to D Petty. Let's see. Can you talk about the Bitcoin wallets coming out of cold storage and if they have already started selling? Shout out to Garrett. That is not something I typically pay attention to, at least when it comes to my trading. This is not something I trade based off of. I'm not saying it's not important to watch this kind of stuff, but for me personally, the way I trade, I am like, I would say like a 98% technical trader. So it's not something I really pay attention to. Again, not that you shouldn't pay attention to it, but it's just not something that I really take into account when I'm looking for trades. Regardless of if the whales are selling or buying, typically the signs are going to be, the technical signals are going to be on the chart either way, right? And then if we're dumping and people are like, oh my God, the whales are selling, it's like, all right, that just kind of lines up. It's similar to news, right? I don't trade the news. I do pay attention to it, but typically if you get massive drops to the downside or massive rips to the upside, the news just fills in the blank, right? I am long from down here at this POC. Whatever the news winds up being, right? I'm not saying we had any like real significant news here, but anytime there is a news event, right? It's just kind of like fill in the blank. I'm already long from down here, and then more often than not, when you do get that bullish news, it's just typically in line with what the technicals are already saying. So I would give you my thoughts on that, but I don't really have a strong opinion. It's just not something I pay a ton of attention to. Garrett says, "Thank you, no problem, bro." But for the most part here, guys, if we're looking at Fibonacci retracements and just like, for the most part, right, like just horizontal levels, right? When we were first getting this aggressive rip to the upside, it was very, very difficult to find those support levels because we didn't really have anything, right? It was just like straight up it was just up in a straight line. But even if I hide these Fibonacci retracements and you just start to look at where those next horizontal levels, we now have the fresh daily, we now have the fresh weekly MPOC, and those two daily MPOC. So we could actually have something to look at here, as well as the fact that we did get some consolidation over the weekend, which does give you that little volume profile to look at. So if we did come down here, chances are are, you will get some kind of reaction, whether that is a massive bounce to the upside or a push up for a lower high and a lower low, right? We'll have to assess that as price action gives us more information. But at the end of the day, we can finally find, at least, especially with this weekly MPOC, there's at least something to look for down here. And then you start to pair that with your local Fibonacci retracement levels, and you do get that little bit of confluence, right? And even if I wasn't looking at any of these horizontal levels, if, for whatever reason they were like, Frankie Candles, you can't look at horizontal levels anymore, I would just be, looking at this based off price action. That's like, if we come on in here, right, you're going to get some kind of turbulence, right, or some kind of reaction within that consolidation, right? Because you do have a little bit of volume traded there, you have the little value area, etc. And then again, if we break down below that, another thing to realize here, we do have a CME gap at about $114,000. So that is going to be a level that I'm paying attention to as well. But and then, once you start losing that local level here, we could start to look down towards that, again, honorable mention, you have the $114,000 CME gap, right? It's like right here on this little, this little chop. Yeah, I would say it's at about, it's almost exactly $114,000. Let me pull that up real quick. Where we at? Get rid of some of these lines. Bada boom, right? So you do have that $114,000 CME gap as well. Actually, let me just pull this real quick. Yeah, crazy. And it is right in line with this Golden Pocket 786 retracement, right? So 114K. This is, again, like a little bit of an honorable mention. And then, if you're unable to get the bounce from there, right, like where are we going to look down to? Well, we just look at our next volume profile, which very simply sits right here. Right, 110K. This is really the big level that I don't want to lose. And again, this will start on the structural high here, technically at the previous all-time high at about 112K. And we do have confluence down there as well. So just, again, from a simple standpoint here, zoom out, right? Something like this would not be like the absolute worst thing ever, right? But that would kind of be the deepest I want that retracement to go to continue the aggressive trend to the upside. So there you go. Right, and then, if we do push back to the upside, I want to talk about some of the upper targets that we have. Obviously, if we get a retracement back up here, we do have a 80-minute green dot looking to print. Don't forget the 30-minute money flow crossover into the red with the 8-hour red dot. But just from a very, very simple stance here, pulling our fib from the high to the low, you do have your golden pocket sitting at about 121,738. So if we were, I can't promise that you're definitely going to get that retracement. But if you did get the full golden pocket 786 retracement, this would be a big level to look at, because if we are going to continue a downtrend here or start a little bit of a continuation down and you get that full 786 retracement or golden pocket retracement, you would have your high, your low, your lower high. And then, if we come up first into this zone, get the rejection, that might be where we push into this bigger level of support, right? So I'm sitting on my hands. I am holding my long position. If we get the ride up into some of the, and we do have local resistance as well. Yeah, again, you might not get that full golden pocket retracement. There are some local levels in there as well we're watching. But, again, for me personally, it's really hard, right? Even with the 30-minute money flow crossover, with the 8-hour red dot, and not even just that, right? We also have a 5-hour bearish divergence confirmed, 4-hour bearish divergence confirmed, right? Your higher highs, lower highs. So I can't promise we get that retracement, but if we did, right, we could potentially look for a lower high sitting there, and then maybe, again, I'm sitting on my long. If we come up to these levels, or maybe even some of the local ones, I'll look for a short position. If we come down first, right, does it mean just because you have the 30-minute money flow crossing over into the red, and we could anticipate a drop down, it doesn't just mean automatically enter a short position. I would rather wait for the key levels to get hit. If we don't hit those key levels and we dump and I don't get a short position, then I will just, wait for the next long position, right? So just holding the long, waiting for the if this, then that, push up first for the short, push down first for the long. And there you go, right? So just, anytime you get a push to the upside, you're going to be looking at that Fibonacci retracement level. And then, with that being said, cracking that 786, right? Let's say, what we were looking at last week when we were on the live stream, right? Pulled from the high to the low, which I guess was right here, right? Saying, hey, if we break above this 786, what is that going to do? Well, that's going to be your doorway to higher prices. That's going to be the doorway, because if you come down and you do not get the lower high in your golden pocket 786 zone and you flip that 786, you are anticipating the invalidation of that lower high. Once you get above there, you look for new all-time highs, and that's exactly what we got directly into our Fibonacci extension targets. And it's going to be the same thing here, right? If we do end up coming back up there, again, I will be looking for rejections, but if we flip that 786, it is going to be a high probability, in my opinion, that that will launch us into another new all-time high. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, if we push into a new all-time high, what are the levels to look at? Well, very simply put, I will pull them up for you guys right now. Yo, shout out to Golden with another 50 Frankie Candles membership. Golden! It's really funny because I typically joke about Golden being on his plane and gifting memberships, and he literally is actually doing that right now. Shout out to Golden. Insane. Thank you for the memberships from above. He's just airdropping those memberships. Shout out to Golden, bro. It's insane. Oh, God, what a time to be alive. What a time to be Golden. But let's see. Small retrace before bull continues. Yeah, shout out to Carell. That is pretty much what I'm looking at, right? Like, even if we get that bigger correction, I'm going to look for that longer-term continuation up. Again, based off all those other things, right? We looked at the stock market, SPY making new all-time highs and NQ making new all-time highs, right? Like, and at the end of the day, guys, like, this is just this. It's so repetitive, right? This is actually reminding me this. Looking back at this when we got the drop down in April or bottoming out in April. So it almost reminds me of 2020, right? Like very, very similar, like massive drop to the downside. But what happens right after that, guys? You get the push back up, and then you go to the upside, putting in massive new all-time highs. It's almost the same exact situation here, especially with the rate cuts coming down the line. It would make a lot of sense, right? It's like scare everybody out of the market. Everything's going to zero. This was Bitcoin at about $75,000, right? And what are we looking for on Bitcoin? Higher low, higher high. Same thing on the SPY. And these were actually front running, right? SPY front ran. Coinbase front ran. Right? Taking a look at the Coinbase stock. This was like one of the big things that we looked at on the channel, right? Coinbase was in this little kind of like bull flag scenario, and then we broke out. That was front running Bitcoin. Bitcoin was in that very, very similar situation where we had that little bull flag forming. And again, I don't trade patterns alone, but when it goes along with your longer-term bias, like we've been looking at here on the channel, it makes a lot more sense to look at this in the form of a bull flag. And when I say this, what I mean is on Bitcoin, right? Like when you look at this, I'm not always looking at the price in terms of patterns, right? But in that specific scenario where we're already anticipating all-time highs, when we have that two-day money flow crossover with the monthly green dot, when you have the rumors of the rate cuts coming in September, it just goes along with your plan, right? And that's kind of how you can increase the hit rate on patterns. I don't look at every single bull flag or every single bull pennant because they don't always play out. But when you can kind of like squeeze it in with your actual bias confirmed by other things, it can increase the hit rate. And you can see here, obviously, we did get that move to the upside. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be looking at. And then if we do get a move to the upside again, guys, let's say, whether we get the pullback, regardless of what happens in the meantime, right? If we do break into new all-time highs eventually, what I will be looking at, I want to talk about these next targets, right? Because last week, what we were looking at were these Fibonacci extension levels, right? Pushing into this next big zone. First, we were looking at these two levels, right? Saying, hey, maybe we get the first bit of turbulence there. That's kind of what we were rejecting or kind of bouncing around under over the weekend. And then if you break above that, you're going to be looking up towards about 126.29, right? So this whole zone is pretty much that level. Bada boom, right? But if we break above this, I will pretty much... I'm going to be looking at a few different levels, right? Number one, we have a pretty decently important level up here at about 129,702. Again, just another Fibonacci extension target, right? So I'll just mark this off as a zone between about 129.7 up to 134.5. And then I would also be looking at about $125,000. Let me see. I think I do have this. No, I don't have it. But about $125,000 is another level I will be paying attention to. There is another Fibonacci extension target up there pulled from a different high and low. I'm not going to pull it up right now, but about $124,000 to $125,000, right? So at the end of the day, right, the macro target here in the medium term, though, is like, hey, if you break this high, we could be working our way up into this area, right? 130, I call it 129.7 to 134.5. And then, obviously, we have some higher macro targets above that. How high can we go in this bull market? As you guys know, I like to handle this level to level. If we did get up to some of these targets and things still looked bullish, we have the absolute, larger macro targets here. It's all going to depend, right? It's impossible. It is impossible for anybody to tell you that this $137,000 target will be the top or $156,000 will be the top. This is impossible for anyone to call, right? But what we could say is if we make it up here, this is a very significant level of resistance. So if we do start to see some topping structures up here, we could start to say to ourselves, well, hey, where are we timing-wise? Where are we with the rate cuts? All this stuff. And if it does look like we're starting to form a top, I would say this is a very, very large macro target to look at between 137,546 and 156,142. And then, hey, if it looks good, we could potentially look for retracements and then look for a bigger breakout to some higher targets. We could be looking upwards of $200,000 or even 175K. We do have some levels sitting up there as well. So, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, the most relevant major target would be between 137.5 and 156,150 or $56,142, right? So all these targets getting hit. This would be like the next major one that I'd be watching. So there you go. But again, be careful of those pullbacks, right? I'm not saying you have to directly come up there right now. As a matter of fact, with the bearish divergences, with the not only 30-minute money flow crossing over into the red with the 8-hour red dot, we also have the daily red dot looking to print. And, if we are to print this red dot, we're going to be looking down towards the 90-minute and the 80-minute. So this would be the next thing to look at. Let's assume, whether we get the retracement or we just come down from where we are now. If we do get that 30-minute, 8-hour to play out, at that point, you're going to be looking for a little continuation down. And then on top of that, I always explain the market cipher B like multi-time frame analysis as like waves crashing, right? So if that 30-minute money flow crossover into the red is your first wave, and that does give you the continuation down, right? As you come down to lower prices, you're going to be looking on any retracements, what is going on. If you have the daily red dot and the 90-minute money flow looking to cross over into the red, you might be able to look for a bigger continuation down, right? So right now it's the 8-hour and the 8-hour red dot with the 30-minute money flow crossover. If we do get that to start to play out, the next thing I would look at is the daily red dot with that 90-minute money flow crossover. And again, not that I would expect it to go to zero, right? But that could give you the bigger continuation down either to your first level of support and then potentially down towards the CME gap at 114K. And then, again, we'll probably talk before this happens, but if we do get the bigger drop down, just don't forget you are looking at this major 112 to about $110,000 zone between the value area high and the structural highs right here on the previous all-time high. And we'll get this off the chart. Bada boom. So, yeah, I am pretty much just chilling in the long position and waiting to see if we can hit some of these key targets. I'm going to come back into chat real quick. Let's see. Shout out to Zach. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He says, this day looks very similar to me as the one on the 20th of January. Same one-day candle forming, both all-time highs. Same day, also Monday. Shout out to Zach, January 20th. Let's take a quick look at that real quick. Bada boom. Could be January 20th. Yeah. I mean, I will say this as well, right? We don't really have any previous highs that we swept. But, I mean, this could potentially, depending on how this daily candle closes, it could close as a bearish hammer candle, which does typically indicate some kind of reversal, right? Again, not to zero, right? But just would be a little bit more bearish. I'm not going to backtest this like crazy, but obviously anytime you see some kind of a big wick on top with a small body on the bottom, that is looked at as a bearish hammer candle and does typically give you some kind of continuation down. I could try to find one example if I can find it here. It also works in the opposite direction as well with bearish hammer candles. I don't want to spend too much time like cherry picking like the perfect example. But typically when you like right here is like a little bit of a bullish hammer, right? You have a bigger wick on the bottom, small body on the top. Big move to the upside, right? And then this is more like a doji candle. But yeah, it does look like a little bit of a bearish candle. The fact that you do have a little bit of a hammer forming. But we'll see. It's not closed just yet. But again, that daily red dot probably going to print soon here, right? This is getting pretty dang close. We have another hour and 36 minutes to confirm that next daily red candle or daily red dot. Or print it, I should say, not confirm it. But yeah, VWAP's coming down. Typically, we do see those red dots print. So maybe we could get a little bit of a pullback. But again, like even something like this is not impossible, right? Long term, we can look for that continuation up. So there you go. Let's see. I hope alt season. I'm under on most of my alts. Yeah, shout out to D Petty Crypto. I'm going to take a look at the altcoins. We'll take a look at Bitcoin dominance, Total 3. We have some interesting stuff popping up on Total 3. Let's see. Shout out to Cuz I Can Bump It, or Koozie Can, as I like to call him. He says, best day ever. BTC is up. Plus, my long-lost daughter is 19 now, and she found me through a family member and came over to visit feeling blessed. Shout out to Cuz I Can Bump It. Let's go, baby. Shout out to you. Those are two gigantic wins. Satoshi Chronicles said, when do you think you'll start taking profits? For me personally, right, my plan has been the same ever since we put the bottom in. My first major target was obviously sitting here between about 91 and 102K, which was the first major Fibonacci target that we wound up rejecting from. Do I have my cycle chart here? It's the altcoin chart. Come on. Where's that cycle chart? I don't have the cycle chart open right now. But the major targets, right, obviously between 91,000 and 102K, that was the first place where we got the correction, right, bull market correction below the support band. Typical 30-ish% bull market correction for a higher low and a higher high, which obviously we have seen play out, which is beautiful. Started to feel a little bit crazy there with how bearish it got at 75K. This is not 75K. How bearish we got here at 75K. But I will say this. I would say 137K. Like, this is a huge target for me. To be honest, guys, I'm not going to lie. When we came up to 120K, my finger was itching to take a little profit on Bitcoin. Now, remember here, guys, I have an entry between about like $20,000 and $21,000, right? So like for me to take a little profit up here to potentially miss out on a move to 29K, like 29K, 100 and or 200K, I'm totally fine with that, right? I've been enjoying these gains for quite some time, but I would say 137K is definitely going to be a big level to watch for me. If we make it up there, I am definitely taking a good amount of profits on my Bitcoin. There is no way I could ever tell people they are early to this bull market for Bitcoin, at least. If you take a look at the altcoins, obviously the nice thing about altcoins not having run yet is the fact that, you know, you might look at this and you're like, oh my God, like even if you bought in here, tried to, and got out because you got nervous and now you're looking at it at all-time highs, like I could never tell somebody that this is a good entry on Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is literally more expensive than it's ever been. Doesn't mean that you can't continue up. But at the end of the day here, guys, I am keeping my sentiment here that we are entering the final stage of the bull market, right? This is where we finally see the blow off top, right? And then eventually you will see the altcoins start to run, right? We're like right on time, especially when you pair it with the rate cuts and all that. So I do think, right, like at least for Bitcoin, right, like we're entering the most exciting part of the bull market, but it is also the most exciting part comes towards the end. So just keep that in mind. I would never say, like, you know, if I had a family member come up to me and said, should I buy Bitcoin right now? I'd be like, you know, you probably it's really expensive right now. But the altcoins are in a totally different situation, right? A lot of the altcoins are nowhere near their all-time highs. And here's the thing, right? We do still have a little bit of time. If we're going to get rate cuts in September, there's still a decent amount of time until that comes in, right? So there's plenty of time for a little bit of effery, as some people call it, leading up into that big moment, right? So, you know, maybe altcoins can correct again, but as you guys know, a lot of our altcoins, what we've been looking at is that 2-day money flow crossover into the green, indicating that the trend will continue up in a big way. And with the timing right now, I would say there's no better chance to hope, at least, for an alt season than coming up in the next few months. Not guaranteed, right? It's not like I can't tell you that, like, this is the day that alt season starts. But when you start looking at the charts and the timing of them, like just cycles in general, it does seem to line up pretty well, right? And then I'll also show you total 3 in a minute, just kind of showing you guys what I was looking for, and we are starting to see it happen. So next big targets, major targets, 137, 156K, and then locally we could watch that 125K level to 130K level locally. But I would be careful of a little bit more of a pullback here, to be quite honest. Whether we come up first or come down from here, 8-hour red dot with the 30-minute money flow crossover is on the chart. Let's see. Shout out to Bison9 said, I'm honestly thinking through holding my Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Solana for longer than this bull run. I keep trying to disregard the fact that I'm looking at 2028 or later. Shout out to Bison. Listen, a lot of my crypto outlook has gone much more long-term recently. I'm much more heavily exposed to Bitcoin and higher market cap altcoins. Things that I think are going to be around for a long time, right? Things that have ETFs, all this stuff. And I do have a longer term, you know, outlook at this point, right? Like I'm not in this for like, you know, the quick gains, obviously looking to sell the tops and buy the bottoms. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you have a long enough time horizon, right? We look at this all the time, right? Like you could have bought every top of every bull market and you would be in profit right now, right? So obviously Bitcoin is very likely to trend to the upside over, you know, decades. But again, you know, it doesn't mean that this is like the best time to buy, obviously. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. Let's see. All the best gains are the last 60 days. Yeah, shout out to Crypto Independent. And again, we looked at that trend-based Fibonacci time. And I will say it's like October 15th to like October 25th, like somewhere in October would be the typical place where you would see a top. Again, that doesn't guarantee that you have to see it, but it does line up perfectly. And again, if we get September rate cuts, you get like a good month or two-ish of like alt season pump. And then again, you just have to be ready, right? Because again, it's like that final firework finale where it's like everything goes crazy, everyone's super bullish, everyone starts calling for $1 million, and then usually at that point, the alts ride up, and then it's over. So you do have to be ready for that. Let's see. Shout out to AG. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He says, to printing 1 million. Let's go. Shout out to AG. Let's get it, baby. AG, are you on your way to 1 million? Let me know. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate you so much. Super chats. Golden says super chats. I think we're caught up on super chats. Shout out to Golden. Oh, no, hang on. Shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat. He says, of all things I could watch using Starlink in the jet, I choose Frankie Candles every time. Listen, learn, practice, practice, practice. Make a new plan, then profit. Shout out to Golden. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Oh, man. I have a feeling when I check my DMs, it's just going to be like Golden watching the live stream on his jet, which is pretty sick, if you ask me. Shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat. Shout out shout out to Zach. How did I miss these super chats? He says, the GOAT is here. Let's show some love to Frankie the Great. Your new nickname. Hope you give us an amazing entry point for a short. Shout out to Zach. Like I said, I am not currently holding a short. Not that, this, if you are in a short, I know, beautiful move there. But again, for my next area where I would look for a rejection will just be those Fibonacci retracements, right? So like any move, right? From the high to the low, 121,700, right? If we were to make it up there, again, I can't promise that. This would be the area to look at for a rejection, right? Now, we might come up there, and I am not taking a short, right? There are specific confirmations that we're looking for, but, if we don't get them, right, obviously flipping that 786 would give you that likely move, and there's that fib level I was talking about before that I said it wasn't going to pull, but you do have that $124,000 to $125,000 zone as well. That's kind of why I gave that, like, intermediary target on the way to 130. You do have this, like, kind of 125K zone as well. Which, I'll be honest, guys, like there's many times where I am looking for an SFP of the high. I'm not, it's not that you can't do it, right? But I will say I'm a little less interested in an SFP here. And the reason for that is because if you look at the heat map, there really isn't a ton of, let me actually refresh this real quick. There isn't a ton of liquidity visible on the heat map. Again, it doesn't mean there's no liquidity up there, but if I were to have, say, like a super hot spot of liquidity up here above that high, typically what I'm looking for is a sweep of the highs. But for the most part here, if we pull up the heat map, you can see there's not really a ton of liquidity up there, right? I mean, you do have a little bit, but, this is more significant. This sits at about 115.5 or starts at about 116.5 all the way down to about 115.5, right? So that would be considered a significant area of liquidity. I wouldn't consider this as significant, right? So that's why, again, can you get the SFP potentially? But it's just not something I'm as interested in, right? So I am going to be watching this level. No promises we get up there. We could just dump from here with the way market cipher B looks. But again, it doesn't mean it's a great trade, right? I think a lot of people get confused about this. Like I could say, well, hey, that 30-minute money flows crossing into the red. Maybe we get the continuation down. Doesn't always necessarily equal an entry trigger, right? So just keep that in mind. But yeah, we will be watching that on retracements. And at the end of the day, whether I take an entry or not, that 30-minute money flow crossover, we get that next red dot and 30-minute money flow coming back into the green here. It's getting a little choppy there. But again, with the 8-hour bearish divergence, and here's the thing, guys, like we've gotten a pretty nice move to the upside, right? When you start printing these bearish divergences, especially like on the 8-hour, although in a bull trend, right, a massive bull trend like we're in right now, these do typically give you like lackluster retracements, or sometimes it just winds up being consolidation before another move up. But, bearish divergences into a key level of resistance, money flow coming out in the lower time frames, not impossible to continue down from here, but doesn't always equal a short position. But those, shout out to Zach. If you scrub back, I do talk about some of those key levels that I'll be looking at if we do get a retracement to the upside for a rejection. Shout out to CG Beats tuning in with the check mark. Let's go, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so one day we can have a check mark like CG Beats. Let's see. ETH pullback coming. Yeah, so let's go ahead. I'm going to keep an eye on Bitcoin here real quick. I'll put a little alert. Put a little alert above this high. And I'll also put an alert. I'll just do one right here in case we start moving. We'll come back in and check on Bitcoin. But let's jump into Ethereum. Real quick. We'll jump into the altcoins. Before we take a look at Ethereum, guys, I do want to take a look at Bitcoin dominance. So when it comes to Bitcoin dominance, what have we been looking at, right? If we zoom out here on the daily time frame, you guys can see we have the 786 Fibonacci retracement. Bada boom, right? Sitting at 66.21%. This was the major level that we looked at for a rejection. We barely front ran it, but we did get the drop to the downside, which is very nice. There's nothing saying we have to physically tap the level. Typically, you do, but we did get that nice drop down last week, which was very nice to see for the altcoins. But we did have this support down here at the POC, right? I'm kind of saying like this is nice, but understand we do have support down here at the point of control. We're kind of just bing-bonging around here above the POC. This is still 64.25% is going to be the big level. If rejected, will equal a potential move down towards that value area low. And you can bing bong around up here, right? We have to lose that POC to look down towards the value area low. But it would make sense, whether we chop around up here for a little bit or not. Losing that POC, bringing us down to the value area low. What we need for Bitcoin dominance, as we've looked at time and time again here, is we need to lose this volume profile. This is how I was able to not call for a massive alt season in February. Right? Not that I ever will jump up here and be like, alt season starts now. And if I ever did say that, it would have to be backed by something on the chart. But February was a very highly anticipated month for altcoins, and all we saw was a reclaim of support, calling for a very likely move to the POC and potentially the 786. We have now come in almost tapping that 786. So chances for rejection here, it's like a better opportunity than any to start getting a breakdown on dominance. Now, another thing I am watching is that daily money flow, right? We could bing bong around here. This daily money flow crossing over into the red was what we had last time. We were inside the profile and got a loss of the value area low to trigger a massive dump on dominance. This can be, I can mark this out with a vertical line real quick. This can be something to look for, right? You get the money flow crossover into the red, you get the massive drop down. That is what we need for alt season, right? So that's what I'm going to be looking at. And just like we look at Bitcoin dominance losing its value area low, what do we want to see on total 3 at the very same time? What we want to see is total 3 re-entering its value area low, right? We want Bitcoin to lose its value area low, and we want total 3 to reclaim its value area low. And we see we came up. We got the rejection, right? This is always resistance until proven otherwise. Not the worst thing in the world to get a retracement down, but where do you want to get the bounce, guys? If you want price to or total 3 to come back up here and flip its value area low, the big area to hold, right? If we lost that 786, that would have been like super bad. We would have seen this cycle play out completely differently. Alts would have went to like 0. But when you look at this, right, there's a reason we have this level down here once we topped out right here, right? You pull your fib from the low to the high, and then if you're looking for a bounce, you really need it to come in between that golden pocket 786 to put in a higher low to potentially and eventually put in the higher high, which we have started to do right now. You have your low, your high, your higher low, your higher high. I love where we bounced here, and I love the fact that we are starting to break back into this value area. Now, you could still potentially bing bong around this value area low, but the fact that we're in there is showing that we want to try to get acceptance in here. And once we hold that value area low, guys, this is what we need. We have Bitcoin dominance starting to break down, hopefully below its POC very soon. You have total 3 breaking back into its value area. And this is another thing that we've looked at, right? It's like, guys, if we want alt season, right, you need this total 3 to get inside this profile, right? And it's 931.2B, right? That's how I always say it. And I always say it with the same cadence, so hopefully people remember. They're like, oh, yeah, he did say that. But this is the level to break, right? As long as we can hold above here, this could be good for the altcoins, right? And again, we do have some time until the rate cut, so maybe you get a little bit of chop, but it does just seem to be right on time here to get inside this volume profile and send it up over the next couple of months. So very, very beautiful to see that. Obviously, Ethereum had gotten that big move up into our next big key level of resistance, which was our major macro target to the upside. We have finally tapped this bottom of the golden pocket. This is our next. This was our next macro target. Once Ethereum wound up breaking out here and cracking above its local 786 Fibonacci retracement, we said, hey, once you get above this level, that is your doorway to come up into your next macro target, sitting between 3,000 and 3,150. We came right up to about 3,080, 3,087 into the bottom of the golden pocket. Absolutely beautiful. So, you could get a little resistance here just for what it's worth, right? 4-hour bearish divergence is confirmed. Again, you have to be careful in these aggressive uptrends, guys, like bearish divergences, especially into a macro golden pocket like this. There's oftentimes, just to clear this up, there's oftentimes where we're looking, right, when we look at a golden pocket or a 786, which, by the way, this 786 of that same golden pocket pull is sitting at about 35.28. This is still the next major macro target on Ethereum. When we look at this, right, we have the macro volume profile. We knew all the way since we were down here. I mean, realistically, all the way back here, we looked at the same level. But when we reapproach this value area low, this is your doorway to higher prices. We put these doorways to higher prices on the chart for a reason. Once you get above this, POC is likely. As long as you're able to remain inside the profile, the idea is that you will eventually fill this profile in full. We've been calling for this ever since we got above that value area low, right? That's been the thesis, and we are just simply, and then obviously we bring up those intermediary levels with the golden pocket, etc., as little pit stops. But you want to have those targets along the way. But overall, like even if we get a retracement here, right, the thought process is as long as we stay within the volume profile, the higher chance is that this will fill in full. It's not just the volume profile; it's also the money flow, right? 2-day money flow crossing over into the green. I'll say it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. 2-day money flow crossovers on altcoins are typically very bullish, right? This indicates that you are probably going to get a significant move to the upside. We compared it all the way back here. Last time we got into the profile, we had the 2-day money flow crossover. Bing, bong, bing, bong. Trend continues to the upside, filling the range in full. 2-day money flow crosses over into the red. You get the full rotation into your profile from the high to the low, into the POC and then the low, right? So these 2-day money flow crossovers are very nice signs, especially because we're inside value. But the reason, you might say to yourself, well, Frankie, this is a golden pocket. Aren't you going to be looking for a lower high and a lower low? Not necessarily, right? We don't know. Sure, there's an opportunity. If you got a big rejection here, you could be an area to put a lower high in at. But with the 2-day money flow in the green, you would anticipate any pullback to be lackluster for higher lows and higher highs. Simply put, right? So you have to understand the context that you're trading in. But you do have 4-hour bearish divergences, but in a massive uptrend, you do have to be careful. Sometimes these don't give you what you would expect. Sometimes they give you a little bit of a pullback, right? Very unlikely that it gives you nothing, right? You already did get a little move to the downside. But bearish divergences, right, into the golden pocket. Higher highs, lower highs. Also, if you come up on a higher time frame, you also have the 8-hour bear div printing. This is currently printing as we speak. And then if we look at the 30-minute money flow, it is still starting to, was in the red, now it's back in the green. But at the end of the day, right, money flow is all about trend. So even if we come into the green here, you might just come back deeper into the red. So there are signs for a potential retracement here as we've hit resistance and we do have bearish confirmation. But if we do, I'm still going to be watching that same daily MPOC that we've been looking at since last week at about 27.77. This is kind of the next daily MPOC on the chart. I was going to say in my opinion, but it's just the next one on the chart. If we pull up some, let me see if I can pull up the weekly MPOCs real quick. Yeah, I don't think you have a new one. Let me just check here. Yeah, I mean, you do have one. Yeah, your weekly MPOC is technically, it's like almost tapped here. It didn't mitigate it, but it did come down to the level, right? So I'll just draw this. Technically, that is a weekly MPOC. I don't know if you want to consider that tapped. But let me get these MPOCs off the chart. Yeah, I would say, I mean, locally here, if we look at this, let me hide the anchored VWAPs real quick. Yeah, I would say, I mean, this is super hyper local, but if you do wind up getting the continuation of the downtrend, I'd be watching this daily MPOC at about 27.77. And if we pull up the 4-hour time frame, let's pull a fib from this impulse to the high. Yeah, you don't have a ton of confluence there, if I'm being honest. Could pull it to this local low. That gives you a little better confluence, but I really would be pulling this from here or maybe even lower, right? So I'm just going to keep this here. Daily MPOC 27.77. That would be the first level I would be looking at. And then obviously you can also keep an eye on this volume profile right here, right? So if you lose that daily MPOC, you might be able to get a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you do have that 786 value area high. I would still say this is a pretty big level. Kind of similar to Bitcoin, right? Like you just want to stay above this previous range. Doesn't mean if you get back in here that you have to go to like much lower prices, but as of right now, I would say like this is a big zone to hold between 27.77 all the way down to the value area high 786 confluence at 26.40, right? Because you could do something like this if you get the bigger retracement, right? You could do something like that, right? Come back to retest the range high before sending it back to the upside. Now to the upside, levels are clear, right? Continue up, top of the golden pocket, 31.50. That would be the next macro target fully filled. And then I'd be surprised if you don't get any turbulence there, but if you were to just yeet on up to higher prices, next macro target would be the 786 value area high. You have two daily MPOCs here, but for that's really for intraday stuff, right? For the most part, don't forget, like, when in doubt, just keep it nice and simple. You're above the value area low, stay above the POC. Value, or golden pocket would be next, but we're looking for that eventual fill of the range. So whether this plays out like an aggressive squeeze up, or in which case I would be targeting eventually the 786, or you get a little cool off into your support first before coming back up there. Overall, this does look right on track, right? Especially with the 2-day money flow crossover. We've shown the example 100 times here. It is looking like it's playing out perfectly. So there you go. Stick to the charts, baby. The charts are the truth. Let's see. Pulling your fib is a crime. Shout out to Servando Estrada. It's only a crime if you pull it in public. Let's see. Shout out to Matty Q. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate that. Trying to hit the button on the stream deck here. There we go. Shout out to Matty. Says Solana 5x limit buy at 157.49. Too low or good level? Shout out to Matty. Hard for me to say, right? This is never financial advice. I will take a look at Solana. We'll also take a look at XRP, and then we'll take some requests from the chat in just a minute. But just to point this out, listen, we could go below 157, right? Like, I could show you the key levels I'm watching, but even the key levels that I'm watching, right? Obviously, we look for the full fill of this range. Getting above the value area low, or holding the value area low, come into the POC, hold the POC. Next target is the value area high. We obviously have come up into our next resistance level. You have the value area high, the golden pocket, and the 786 zone. Again, would I be looking at this as a high probability lower high before putting in a lower low? Not necessarily. Why is that? It's based off money flow. Money flow indicates the longer term trend. And as long as this money flow, even though you're looking to print a red dot here on the 2-day, fake out on the red dot here, right? You got the red dot with an instant green dot. So, whether we get the correction down or not, I would not be looking for lower lows based off money flow. It's not until that 2-day money flow starts to come out really aggressively where I would be looking for a high, low, lower high, lower low. In this case, what I am looking at is a low, a high, a higher low, and potentially, even with pullbacks, an eventual higher high into our larger into our upper volume profile up here, and I'll break that down in a minute. But the reason for that, guys, is money flow, right? As long as this 2-day money flow is in the green, I am going to continue to look for higher highs, higher lows and higher highs, right? That's why I'm not looking at this as a massive, massive rejection for lower lows. I don't want anyone to get confused by that, because there are times where we are looking for lower highs for lower lows, right? But not in this environment. When money flow is coming out, as you can see, right here, that would be more of a situation where you look to continue that downtrend. In this case, with money flow coming up, we are looking for the continuation of the uptrend. And right here where we bounced on the golden pocket value area low with the monthly just underneath it, this was a perfect place, right? This was the best place. If you were going to bounce somewhere to put in a higher low, that golden pocket was the best spot. Could have even wicked down to the 786 and been the same context. But because of these things, this is why I look for the continuation. Again, not guaranteed. This could go to zero. Obviously, not financial advice, but that is, it's how we've made these calls so far, and that's how we're going to continue to do them. But definitely at resistance. Definitely have the 4-hour bearish divergences, the 8-hour bearish divergences printing. Checking that 30-minute, right? 30-minute money flows crossing over into the red. You can see the downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. So same situation as Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Like if that 30-minute money flow stays in the red, right, you could get a little bit more of a retracement, but it would be looked at as a lackluster pullback before higher lows and higher highs. That's what I would be looking for. So 157, who knows, right? Like I don't want to tell you exactly where to set your limits because number one, I can't tell you where to do that. You have to make your own decisions, but you might not hit that level, right? And it takes off without you. It might break through that level and go for a deeper retracement, in which case you'd be like, oh my God, now I'm in the red. So there is room for pullbacks here, right? Now, if we get the full pullback, what will I be looking for? Well, we could pull from the impulse to the high here. You do have a golden pocket. 786 retracement sitting right here at about, I'm just going to mark this out, 155.67 to 151.99. So this would be the first kind of local Fibonacci retracement I would look at. And then, if we're looking at full retracements, obviously the POC within the profile is going to be your strongest level. It is confluent with your golden pocket. Is it possible to come back down to the POC? Yes. Is it, very likely? It's hard to say at this moment, right? We'd have to wait for that retracement. And again, I don't know. Nobody knows if you're going to bounce off the local retracement or come back down for a bigger retracement. Very hard to say. But these are definitely the levels I would look at. Now, if we start to pull up some daily MPOCs, try to find some confluence in there. You do have a daily MPOC sitting in there. You have a few daily MPOCs, actually. Daily MPOC there. You have one right here. You have one right here. But I would say the confluence here with that golden pocket 786 is very nice. You might have confluence on that. Come on. Yeah, I mean, if you want to pull some hyper local levels, right, you could potentially pull from this low. That gives you a little confluence on these two daily MPOCs. But for significant moves, if we do get a bigger retracement, I would be looking right here. See if I have a weekly MPOC somewhere. Yeah, weekly MPOC is sitting on the point of control of the range, so that is some nice confluence as well on that second level that I just brought up. So first off, if you do get the continuation down, pay attention. You have two daily MPOCs here, but again, that Fibonacci confluence off the impulse is sitting right here between about 155.67 and 151.99. But again, can't promise you get there. Also can't promise it holds, right? It's all about what happens as you approach that level. Are you getting the reaction you're looking for? Are you getting the confirmations you're looking for? Or is it just melting through the level, right? It's never as easy as just setting a level and a limit order and just hoping you bounce there. I don't even really trade with limit orders. If I do, it would be like a very low leverage position. I forgot who said it, but it was 5X, nothing really too crazy. So yeah, I don't really use limit orders. I typically wait for the reaction and then enter. But yeah. And the reason for that is because even if you have a key level down here, right? If you come down into this level and there is no reaction or no bullish confirmations, I don't want to take the trade anyway because I'm going to expect some kind of continuation down. So when you set those limit orders, sometimes you can get into the position. And if you don't get the bounce, right, it's never guaranteed. Maybe you have no confirmations. You don't want to enter that trade. I don't ever want to be automatically entered in there. So yeah, those are the levels I would look at. 155.67 to 151.99. Lose that. I'm probably looking down towards the POC, to be quite honest. Could have a lot of liquidity sitting below these lows as well. Maybe SFP into the POC. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Doorway, two higher prices for this at this point, right? 786. Just like we looked at on Bitcoin before we broke off into the new all-time high. If we are not going to get the bigger rejection within the golden pocket 786, flip this. You're approaching the biggest key level on the chart to the upside right now, which is the value area low at 183.91. Get above that, guys. That's where we're looking up. And this is the same thing we've been looking at, right? Once you imbalance out of this profile, you're going to look to seek out fair value and hunt out that point of control of the previous range. So flip 183.91. Next target is going to be 217.90 or 216.90. I'm sorry, at the point of control, right? This is also your macro Fibonacci retracement from the high to the low. That's your macro golden pocket. Just like on Ethereum, right? Very similar. You're looking at the full fib from the high all the way to the low. You're looking for that retracement eventually, right? So same thing on Solana, except that golden pocket sits at about 216 all the way up to 225. So that's your next macro target. But you got to flip that value area low first and the line in the sand to see that. And again, that also lines up with your low, your higher low, and your higher high, right? Multiple things pointing in that direction, not to mention you have two-day money flow crossing over into the green. Right? So any pullbacks here have to be looked at as lackluster for higher lows and higher highs, right? Or higher lows, higher highs. So there you go. That's what I'll be looking at on Solana. Be careful of the pullback, 16-hour red dot as well. 1 hour money flow coming out. Wouldn't be shocking to get the rejection from resistance with bearish confirmation and bearish money flow. But in bullish trends, you just have to be careful because this doesn't always bring you down in an aggressive way. All right, let's see. Shout out to Rana. Thank you for the super chat. Says, hey, Frankie, big respect. Your bull targets on ETH. Shout out to Rana. We actually did take a look at that, I believe, last week. I will just give you the same. Oh, yeah, we did. Actually, hang on. Never mind. My bull market targets for ETH. Let me just hide this briefly. From the high to the low. I would be looking up. I mean, the first major zone's between 58 to 7,300. Right? And then that's where we can reassess the situation. Is it looking like the top is coming in, or can we look up towards the next target? If we can get up to the next Fibonacci target, it sits between 99.40 and 11.3. Those are very simply the next bull market targets I would be looking at for new all-time highs. Doesn't guarantee you have to come into 9 to 11,000, but we'll very likely see the technical signals in this zone if it's going to continue, or if we're going to look to put in the macro top. So there you go. Easy answer. Shout out to Rana. Hopefully that helps you out. Let's see. Shout out to Mike AD80. Says, everything is at an all-time high right now. The heck? Not Ethereum. Bitcoin is for sure. But shout out to Mike. General stocks. Yeah. And this was a lot of the things that made us kind of front run my thesis on Bitcoin making a new all-time high. Again, SPY, NQ. We had a lot of, I believe NVIDIA was making new all-time highs. Is that what we were looking at? We don't look at stocks very often. But yeah, we had a lot of things breaking out there, right? Coinbase stock breaking out. A lot of things kind of leading the way for Bitcoin. And honestly, it was nice. Like Bitcoin got a little bit of a lag, right? It's like you can kind of see those front runs and it's like, oh, maybe Bitcoin's next. And when Bitcoin moves, it moves really fast, as you guys can tell. But yeah, let's see. ETH, XRP, Doge. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. Thank you for the alt list, bro. I appreciate you. Oh my God, I almost hit. No. Hang on. Shout out to Rob. Okay, no, Rob, I almost hit you. But no, you're good. I could still see you. Let's see. Yeah, shout out to Mike. Says Bitcoin all-time high doesn't make news now. Yeah, it's maybe not the top. It'll be in the news. It'll be in the news when the all-time high is coming in, and they'll likely be calling for much higher targets as the top is being put in. So, yeah, very interesting. All right, so let's continue on here. You're amazing. Shout out to TV. Shout out to you. You're amazing. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here. We took a look at Solana. We took a look at Ethereum. Let's go ahead and jump on into XRP. As you guys know, we have been looking at some, and I do have some new levels here on XRP as well. I should probably clean this chart up a little bit. But as you guys know, right, we were just the same thing as everything else, right? Looking to get above that value area low, push into the POC, flip the POC, go to the high, break out of the high, right? We have these next key levels of resistance and support that I want to talk about. Number one, we have come into, right, just like we look at on everything, bear with the mess here. Fib pulled from the high to the low. Gives us the golden pocket, 786 retracement. We broke above the golden pocket. We just are starting to reject the 786. This could be an area to start a little bit of a bigger pullback. And, you know, we have covered XRP specifically looking, I talked to the premium Discord about this, and I talk to you guys about it almost every day, looking at the 2017 fractal here to the high, right? Like XRP loves to do these like big ranges, right, before a massive, massive breakout. And you can see how similar this structure is. And we even like lined this up and was like, you know, I don't know if you're just going to get the instant breakout like literally at the exact same time as that fractal, right? That's not how I trade, but it would be pretty crazy. If this happens, guys, it's like we're in a simulation for sure. It's just like that would be insane, right? So it is possible to just start like getting the push up here, but again, it might be a little early without the rate cuts unless XRP is an early mover. But, you know, again, we've been showing this fractal for quite some time saying, like, I know XRP feels dead. I know it feels like it's never going to stop ranging, but this is typically a very, very bullish pattern, right? Like, it takes these really long bull pennants before getting a massive breakout. So it is possible to just keep pushing up here. I'll cover the higher targets in a second. But for the most part, let me actually just pull up XRP over here so I can clean up the chart for you guys. And pull up that Fibonacci retracement level, right? So when we're looking at this from the high all the way to the low, you guys can see we are pushing into that 786 retracement. Right hither. So we are at resistance. We do have the daily red dot looking to print. So is it possible to pull back from here? Absolutely. If we do pull back, there's some very, very key levels that I will be watching. I'm going to pull up the other chart for those. But just keep in mind, this is like Ethereum, right? Pushing into its macro golden pocket. This is actually at the 786, but we are at resistance, right? On top of that, daily red dot looking to print, but look at your money flow. Money flow is in the green. This makes me anticipate any pullback to be lackluster for a higher low and a higher high. And I'm going to show you the exact key levels that I'm looking at, but we also do have the 8-hour bearish divergence, 8-hour red dot printing, 30-minute money flow is looking to come out, right? So you can watch that 30-minute money flow to maybe continue the overall downtrend or start the bigger move down. But again, I still remain bullish, right? I still remain bullish. I'm going to come down to a little bit of a lower time frame. Some of the key levels that I will be watching. Let me go ahead and hide this golden pocket really quickly. Just going to take it off the chart. Right. Something I will be looking at. We do have a little bit of consolidation here on our local volume profile. And this, initial golden pocket 786 retracement sits between 280 and 274. So it would be looked at as a local level, right? Maybe you come back down below the low, reclaim 786. You might be able to bing bong around in this range. But level number one, definitely going to be sitting here between 280 and 274. And then if we come on down a little bit deeper, we do have a pull from the kind of the start of the bigger impulse here all the way to the high. Golden Pocket, daily MPOC, value area high confluence, sitting between 260 and 250. This is really the big level, right? Doesn't mean if we break down into the range, these are like really the three major levels. If you're going to continue an aggressive move up, if you are going to get a retracement, I mean, can you just yeet up from here potentially? But if you do go for like first retracement, this is what I would look for. Lose this. Value area high, golden pocket, daily MPOC is big to hold. And then once we get accepted back into this range, obviously the POC is going to be next, but I will be open to a bounce at that level because of the confluence on that 786 retracement. This would keep the bull trend going. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm going to keep it nice and simple there. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Those are the three big zones that I'll be watching. Also, your anchored VWAP from the low will likely be confluent if you do get a bigger pullback. I would watch this, if it turns into a bigger retracement, watch this anchored VWAP from the low. If we do have to come visit this would be an absolutely critical level to hold, right? So if we do come down, maybe that anchored VWAP comes up. This would be huge to hold. Those are the big three levels I'm looking at on XRP. But overall, general thesis here remains exactly the same. I am not going to get spooked out here, right? You get the breakout. You might want to retest before the real move if you don't just take off from here. This will not scare me. I will look at this as an opportunity, if anything, right? If we continue up, targets remain exactly the same. If we break out, your next resistance level is sitting here between these two daily MPOCs, between about $3.07 and $3.16. Get above that, you can start targeting this bigger Fibonacci extension level at $3.52. But those are the levels. If we do get a bigger correction here, those are the levels of support I will be looking at. But again, 2-day money flow in the green, right? Last time we had a 2-day money flow crossover in the green. Doesn't take that long to just come back here and say, look at that 2-day money flow crossover. Doesn't really give you much time to get in, right? It just kind of yeets to the upside. So just be aware of that potential situation as well. But again, 2-day money flow crossover, right? Even if we get the pullbacks, higher lows and higher highs are to be expected. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. Thank you for the alt list. I appreciate you, bro. I'm going to go ahead and replace the pinned message here. Let's see. Sold my XRP for a 5x gain. Needed the money at the time, but now I'm sad I'm out of XRP. Shout out to Scott, bro. I will never tell anybody that's a bad decision. If you need the money and you sold in profit and you took that money and you put it to use, right? Like I think a lot of people, right, start to lose track of, and I'm not saying this happened to Scott, but you don't want to lose track of like while you're in, like we're all in crypto to make money, right? But like, what do you want that money for, right? Like this is why I always tell people like try to set financial goals for yourself and not just all-time high for your coin that you're looking at, right? I want to make X amount of money so I can do this with the money. Right, and then see if your plan lines up with potentially making that much money, right? You don't just want to hold on until you get to the highest number possible, right? You want to have like a reason to pay yourself and take that money and use it, right? Because that's oftentimes how you can get stuck holding these things and round tripping them all the way back to the bottom because you're just looking at that number going up and you don't want it to go back down and you wind up holding forever. But if you have like realistic targets and realistic goals, for, maybe it's a house, maybe it's a car, maybe it's retiring, maybe whatever it is, right? Like try to have those financial goals in your head, right? So you can actually have a reason to like get out of the market, right? Because if you just like target, I want to make $1 billion, right? Like you're never going to sell and you're just going to wind up holding things forever. So yeah, I shout out to you, man. That's a good move, right? As long as you put that money to good use, there you go, bro. Let's see. Yeah, we'll try to take a look at Litecoin. Coins like Sheep look good to buy now. And I did this with the premium Discord, guys. If you just take a look at the altcoins, like I said earlier today, like, listen, I would never tell anybody for me personally, not that I tell anybody when to buy at all, but, like this is expensive, right? Like for Bitcoin. We've had a massive bull market. We are in a massive bull market, right? Things are bullish. We could definitely see higher targets, but it's hard for me to tell people funnel into Bitcoin up here. But the beautiful thing is, I know the altcoins have been brutal lately, but when you look at the altcoins here, like even taking them on log, right? The altcoins, like we've just had massive dumps on the altcoins, and they really haven't been doing much, right? So a lot of these altcoins are still at pretty low levels, right? They're still far away from their all-time highs. I'll just go through them real quick, right? Like I'll just run through my list here, right? Like all these coins are very far away from their all-time highs. So I would say the opportunity now, right, at this point, if you're funneling into crypto or you might be new to crypto, I mean, you're buying the top of Bitcoin, right? Whether we keep going higher or not, right? Like these are not, like Bitcoin's in price discovery. These, all the altcoins are just still pretty low, right? These are all like relatively far away from their all-time highs. So there is still plenty of opportunity in the altcoins for the altcoins, in my opinion. Doesn't mean that you have to have all season. Doesn't mean they have to run. But, again, if this cycle plays out like we think, and we've been right so far, almost perfectly on time, there's a lot of opportunity here on the altcoins, right? They are all still very far away from their all-time highs, regardless of what you're looking at, with the exception of, I know there's some outliers, but for the most part, right, these things are really far away from their all-time highs, which is really nice because there's still a ton of opportunity. And we still do have time, right? There's still a little bit of time till September. So keep that in mind as well, right? There's still time to chop around, maybe come a little lower. But again, on Bitcoin, the case here is clear bull market. Higher highs and higher lows, right? No reason to not look for new all-time highs. But again, just kind of makes it a little bit expensive to buy up here, right? You don't want to be the people that funnel in at the top, right? But luckily on the altcoins, you're not at the top. All right, let's see. Shout out to Zach. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He said if you could only have to choose one alt to long it 10 or 20x for crazy percentage increase during alt season, which one would you go for? Zach, to be quite honest with you, bro, rising tides lifts all ships. So it would depend, right? Because again, as I always say, my decisions are based off the chart. So there's not really it's just not how I trade, right? I don't just have one altcoin that I think is going to. I have a very agnostic view on the market, right? I know a lot of people like to get tribal about this is the best technology. This is going to replace this. This is going to be the new this, right? This is going to be the, whatever. I don't trade like that. I don't invest like that. Crypto is a super speculative asset class. I say this all the time. Some of the coins that pump the hardest don't come back around in the next bull market, right? It's basically all speculation and hype. So for me personally, I would not. I just wouldn't approach it like that. I even if I thought that there was a coin that would gain the most percentage, it doesn't mean that it would really depend on what the chart looked like, right? Because I'm only going to trade based off the technicals. So kind of a hard question to answer. But I mean, if you longed anything right during alt season, pretty much everything goes up, right? Now we might be in a little bit of a different situation this cycle. There's a lot more altcoins nowadays, right? So it's a little bit more diluted. Maybe you have to be a little bit more picky about what you choose. But for the most part, rising tides lifts all ships. And I mean, you're going to get crazy. You're going to get crazy percentages probably on most things that, as long as you're not investing in something that's like a complete scam or has already gone to zero or their team left, abandoned the project or something like that. Let's see. Rana said, do you have faith in Dino coins to make new all-time highs? Shout out to Rana. It's a great question. So for Dino coins, we'll take a look at Polkadot, right? A little bit of a Dino coin here. Here's my thing. Is Polkadot going to make a new all-time high? Maybe not. It's definitely plausible to think that this won't make a new all-time high. But again, even if you go for a golden pocket retracement from where we are right now, this is the same thing as the last time we got the big rip to the upside. When you're oversold here at the value area low, right? Even not even to the full macro golden pocket, but even to the value area high is 109%, right? To the golden pocket, you're still 939%. To the 786, you're 1100%, right? So even if it didn't put in a new all-time high, even if it made it to the value area low, still a 300% gain, right? So even if this thing goes into a macro retracement, puts in a lower high to eventually just go to zero, right? Let's say you go for a lower high and then you just come break structure and just continue on down. This is still a massive gain to be had. But I think it really depends. I think there are some, VeChain, I think will probably put in a new all-time high. This is not financial advice. It might not. But there's certain things that I think are going to be a little bit better than others. But I think, when you look at the Dino coins, I think there is a potential that a lot of them won't make new all-time highs. But that doesn't mean that there's, again, to me, guys, they're candles and percentages, right? If this thing's going to go for that golden pocket retracement, still plenty of money to be made. So that's kind of how I would handle that. Let's see. Shout out to Zach. Thank you for the super chat. Says, I tried a long on 10 to 20x instead of buying and holding them for an increased profit. The liquidation level gives you a lot of room to wiggle. Shout out to Zach. Definitely something you can do. I mean, listen, I know not everybody has a ton of money to drop into altcoins. I don't even personally use leverage in that way. If you guys want to learn the correct, I don't want to say correct, but the way that I use leverage, shout out to Tony D. If you could drop that leverage trading tutorial in the chat. And it's definitely very risky, right? If you're going to long, like, just understand, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying you can't make money doing that. But just be careful because when you just get into a 10 or 20x trade with, you could 100% get liquidated, right? Even on 2 to 3x leverage, right? You could totally get liquidated. I think a lot of people think, I'll just long on 2x. I'll never hit liquidation. It happens. Trust me. I'll speak from experience, right? I've had like low leverage trades. Not that I didn't have a stop loss set. Actually, back in the day, last 4th of July, I was down about a Honda Civic. Last 4th of July, I was in a low leverage long position, and I had thought I had my stop loss set. I did not have the stop loss set, and I literally came within dollars of liquidation, right? I wound up getting lucky. I did not get liquidated. We came back up. It was clean. I wound up closing that trade in profit, but just understand, your liquidation level can come in much quicker than you think. So just be careful out there, Zach. I'm not saying you can't do it, but yeah. That is a little bit more of like a gambly type mindset, which again, nothing wrong with that, right? As long as you know, as long as you kind of know the difference. But yeah, that's not necessarily how I use leverage, right? But go watch that tutorial if you have not seen it already. It kind of breaks down like why trading with leverage is not actually gambling and not necessarily even more risky than trading with spot. So go check that out if you're interested. Oh, hey, shout out to Dave Digital. Thank you for dropping that link. Let's go, baby. Oh, and Tony D. We got 2 links in the chat. Let's go. Shout out to Ligma Wick. Said Frankie only approaches lost dogs. Shout out to Ligma Wick. I have not found a lost dog in a while, so I think we should be good here. If you don't know, I found in the past 2 years, I found like 4 or 5 lost dogs, and every time I find one, we get a mega dump to come in. I think the last one was the first time it didn't play out. I found it, didn't dump. So yeah, I'm I try not to go outside that much because the dogs are just I don't know what it is, guys. I've like never found a lost dog in my life, and in the past 2 or 3 years, I found like 5 lost dogs. Very strange. Let's see. Virtuals, yeah, we could take a look at virtuals, no problemo. Yo, shout out to Zachary Moore, says 46-year-old crypto rookie from Maine. Let's go. Shout out to Zachary. Welcome in, bro. Well, if you stick around here long enough, bro, you're not going to be a rookie for very long. Yo, shout out to Dave. Dave says, hey, Zach, 4th-year freshman here. Shout out to Dave Digital, bro. Shout out to Eugene Sky said my leverage trading is just 5% of my, I assume that means portfolio. Yeah. And that's the other thing here too, guys. Like I am a trader, right? But just understand, right? We actually, for some reason, never deal with this anymore. But in the beginning of my channel, a lot of people will come in and be like, leverage trading is gambling. Leverage trading is gambling. And I'm just like, I had to explain it so many times, right? Leverage trading can be gambling if you don't know how to use it, right? Like you could totally, you could turn anything into a gamble, right? You could turn just spot investing into a gamble. But when it comes to leverage trading, right, there's like different ways to use it. I do not just use leverage to jack up my position sizes. It is very calculated. And again, go watch that video if you have not seen it already. It explains, I explain in detail like why your using leverage should not really increase your risk, right? Whether I am in, if you're trading a legitimate risk management plan, whether you're on 50x, 100x, 20x, 7x, whatever it is, right, you should only be risking a certain amount of your account. Right? So regardless of using 100x, 50x, or 20x, or 1x, right? As long as you're still risking that same percentage of your portfolio, you're not really risking any more money, right? You just have to put up less margin, meaning less of your money, to open that position. If I use 100x leverage, I can open a massive position with very little money. That's all that's changing, right? Your stop loss, right? The amount that you risk on the trade can still remain 1 to 2% of your account. The only thing using the high leverage does is it allows you to use less of your own money to open that trade. And you might say, why do you want to do that? Well, it can free up capital if you're confident in the position size and your stop loss is above your liquidation level, right? You can use that to free up capital to deploy on other things, right? So yeah, go watch that. I explain everything in detail in that video. Let's see. So let's take a look. We'll take a look at Litecoin. We'll take a look at virtuals. I'll just do virtuals because my mouse happened to be on it. And we actually looked at virtuals earlier today on the premium live stream. But for the most part here, guys, I'll come over to a little bit of a lower time frame. Obviously, we have this volume profile up here. Value area low, biggest level, which is a zone. But I would say the biggest level right now is the value area low at $1.91, right? This is your doorway to higher prices. So you get above this, hold it as support. It's where you could start the bigger continuation up through the profile, right? Just like everything else we looked at. That's the level to get above. Now, it is a little bit of a zone of resistance. You have the value area low. Right now, we are potentially rejecting this anchored VWAP from the top. Number one, this anchored VWAP sitting at $1.74. Like, this is the first level you want to get above. Once you get above there, right, you're kind of just slamming into more resistance. You have the value area low. You also have a local golden pocket 786 retracement there as well, golden pocket 786, right? So even if you get above the golden pocket value area low, you're also cooking into the 786. So you do have a lot of resistance above, but again, I don't like to cover every intermediary level on the live stream because I think it does confuse a lot of people. So just for the most part, from a general perspective, this is the big level to get above. Hold the value area low. Yes, you could play around, get rejected by these fibs, but eventually once you get accepted into here, you could start that bigger journey up towards the POC, which is confluent with this daily horizontal, sitting between 260 and 271. Sure, we can get resistance there, right? But once you get above the POC, you would eventually expect the value area high to come in, which does get closer to about 338. Now, on top of that, right, I also do not hate where we got the bounce from, right? This is a golden pocket daily MPOC, but this was the first Fibonacci retracement we were looking at on virtuals to potentially get a bounce, put in a higher low, to eventually put in the higher high and break structure to the upside, right? So this is also in line as well. Doesn't mean that you can't break down, right? If you, at the end of the day, maybe this thing gets dumped, but if you can't get back above any of this, right, you start breaking down, you lose it. Once you lose this golden pocket, I would be looking down towards the 786 daily horizontal, sitting at about $1.07, right? So if you don't get the bounce off the golden pocket, you're always going to be looking down towards the 786, and you could also potentially have your low, your high. Hopefully this is the bounce, right? And then we can get back into this range and crack out. But if you break this, right, you could also look towards that 786. Once you lose that 786, I think you come much lower, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. That is virtuals. Shout out to Equinox. Says, can you cover Solana, please? Shout out to Equinox. We actually already looked at Solana. If you scrub back just a little bit, you will see the chart pop up, and I give you all the sauce on Solana as well. I'm going to turn the fan on here in the studio because it is cooking in here, baby. All right. Let's see. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at Litecoin. That was next on the list. And then we'll take a look at Doge, Crow, and Algo. Actually, Litecoin was not next on the list, but it was highly requested. Take a sip of the water here. All right. Let's see. Am I going to be able to find this? There it is. Okay. So looking at Litecoin. I mean, you're just still within your bear market range. Let's do a little analysis here. Oops. Holding that 786 technically. So yeah, from a volume profile perspective, you have your fair value down here, and you simply have your next fair value sitting up here between $136 to $230. So as price action always seeks out fair value, once we impulse, just like when we impulsed out this time, right back here, you impulse out of your volume profile, price is going to gravitate towards the previous area of value, which again sits at about 137 at the value area low. We get up there, resistance, 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 and we get the bigger correction. At this point, right, even back here, you did have the 2-day money flow crossover, right? You get back into the value area low, 2-day money flow crosses over into the green, you get the full rotation into the value area high. 2-day money flow crossover, we have now put in a low, a high, a higher low. 2-day money flow is crossing into the green. If you could continue this uptrend to continue, if you can get this uptrend to continue, and we get the breakout of the value area high, we will be looking up towards 137.02 at the value area low. Once you can flip that, that would also support the idea of your low, high, or low, high, higher low, higher high, right? And the 2-day money flow crossover. Last time you had the 2-day money flow crossover, wound up giving you about a 138% rip. Right now, 138% rip would bring you up to above the POC, right? Doesn't guarantee just because this one played out like that, this one will, but typically it will rhyme, right? And as long as that 2-day money flow stays in the green, you anticipate lackluster pullbacks for higher lows and higher highs. So all you're looking for is an impulse, right, or imbalance out of this range so you can then approach the previous range, get accepted, and get it sucked up towards the strongest magnet within the profile, which is the point of control at 180.22. That's what I would look at. Right? Now, short term, are we hitting resistance? Would argue, actually, that might be local. Yeah. So, I mean, this is really the zone to break above. You're hitting the golden pocket 786. And again, like, let me just take this off. Bada boom. Right. Get above the 786. This is your best bet to start that journey up towards the value area low. If you reject here, right, this is key resistance. Golden pocket 786 value area high. At the end of the day, this could be a lower high before continuing down to break the low. But again, with the way money flow looks, I wouldn't really be my base case. So resistance sitting between 95.72 and 102.15. If you break out of here, I am looking to come up towards the value area low. And again, you know, you have a nice little clean value area right here, as you can see. So you can even look at this. If you do push up, right, locally, you can look for a reclaim of that value area low to kind of indicate short-term what's going to happen. And like kind of that roadmap up into the value area low of the macro range. But right now, I mean, you're at resistance, right? You're at resistance. You do have your... Yeah, you do have like a little bit of a bearish divergence here. Yeah, like to your bodies at the technical higher high, lower highs. 8-hour bearish divergence is printing, higher highs, lower highs, right? So definitely could be some turbulence here. 786/value area high is your doorway to higher prices, and doorway to higher prices would be looked at about 136.90 at the value area low. So there you go. Let's see. Alpaca Finance token has Ethereum contract address as of July 12th. Possible big move coming. Shout out to Jay. Let's go. Let's see. Yes, shout out to Luminosity. We did take a look at XRP. Just scrub back a little bit. We talk about the next targets. Okay, so let's go back to the list here. I want to take a look at Doge real quick. Kind of got sidetracked here with the altcoins, guys. Dogecoin, actually do already have a chart here marked out for you. Kind of the same thing, right? We were looking at this golden pocket as resistance. We barely front ran that. We actually are rejecting a local fib from this lower high, right? So technically the golden pocket that we are rejecting, right? No rejection happens for no reason. Golden pocket retracement, right? Maybe I'll even drag these down to make them a little bit bigger. So it kind of encompasses both fibs. But same thing, right? Like you do have some bearish divergences, right? If we do continue down, the biggest level of support I would be looking at right now would be this local Fibonacci pulled from the impulse to the high. Golden pocket 786. 2 daily MPOCs between about 0.184 and 0.172. Breakdown below that 786 daily MPOC, we're just looking down towards the value area low. At the end of the day, right, even if we come down to these value area lows, right, as long as you can stay inside of these, the doorway to the point of control remains open, which sits right here at about 26 cents. So to the upside, let's say, I wouldn't be surprised if you get the cool off here from the golden pocket with the bearish divergences. But if you do cook back to the upside, I'd be looking up here. Once you break out of this value area high, then you could target the POC. But I would not be shocked if you get a little bit more of a continuation here into some of these higher low Fibonacci levels, right? And then again, value area low sitting at 16 cents is still the biggest level on the chart, right? Taking all these intermediary levels off the chart, it is always going to be looked at as, hey, what's going on here? Deviate below the range, get back in. The roadmap to the POC begins, right? Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's confusing, but eventually you do oftentimes make it up there. We saw this happen on things like XR, any altcoin that we've looked at, right? XRP's rotated its full profile. Ethereum rotated its entire local profile. And we're just seeing this on a lot of stuff. So that would be the overall thought process there. But definitely watch this level. If you do get a little bit of a continuation down, first level to watch, 18 to 17 cents, 0.184 to 0.172. That's what I would look at. All right, let's see here. We got Algo. We have not looked at Algo in a minute. Let's take a look at this. Obviously getting cooked to the upside, or cooking to the upside. All right, so let's get our bearings here. All right, so this gave us a little bit of resistance. That's old news, though. This gave us a little bit of resistance at the 786, but you break it, and again, this is the key here. Break the 786, you look to crack structure to the upside. This is now old. We have now cracked out. We have now put in the new high, right? Not a new all-time high, but the new high. So, yeah, to be quite honest, right? Yeah, look at this. Look at this flip of this value area high. Insane. Break up, flip it to support, boom. So I would say here, next levels, I'll give you on Algorand, value area low at 34 cents. That's your doorway to higher prices, right? This would be a big key level, doorway to higher prices. So maybe we bing bong around. I'll bring up the key levels of support. But once you get up here, flip this to support, POC, flip the POC, value area high, right? That you're looking to go from one value area, which was previously marked out from all the way back here. Once we entered back in, you knew you were going to rotate to the POC and then the value area low, deviate below, back above, POC, value area high, deviate above, back in, POC, lose the POC, value area low, back in, POC, flip the POC, value area high, and now you're getting the breakout, right? So the next obvious target would be this value area low at 34 cents. If you get a little bit of a cool off to retest support, key levels I would look at, let me pull it from the impulse. This is tapped. Let me actually pull some daily MPOCs here real quick. I'll skip those, pull up the weekly. All right, so you do it. Yeah, look at this. Weekly MPOC on the golden pocket. Boom. So first zone I would look at is weekly MPOC value area high, right? Because, again, you might want to come back and retest that range high before continuing up. And then the next clear level would be the 786 point of control of the range. Get rid of these MPOCs. So there you go, right? Something like this would not be out of line, right? If you get a bigger correction, you're hoping to hold this. This is kind of key, right? Because if you get stuck under the value area high, you could look to go to the point of control. But again, based off money flow, crossing into the green on the 2-day, I would still be looking for higher lows and higher highs. These would be the two biggest zones, plain and simple. Value area high, golden pocket, weekly MPOC, 23 to 22 cents. POC 786 sitting at 20 cents. Once you lose that 786, you're probably rotating the entire range. But I would say if you do get cool-offs, this is probably the higher probability based on your 2-day money flow. So there you go. That's what I would look at on algo. Value area low 34.349. POC at 40 cents. Value area high at 50 cents. And then you could start eventually targeting your 2021 bull market range, in which case would be the same exact situation. So there you go. Let's see. I am back pretty far in chat. Let's see. Oh, shout out to Dave Digital said, pay me in cash, baby. Shout out to Dave Digital. Jay Oscar says, can you do H-bar, Mr. Bing Bong? Let's see. I will write down H-bar real quick. I will try to get to H-bar if we have time. We are running out of time. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Scott Watson said Frankie cracked out. Shout out to Scott Watson. All right, let's see here. Shout out to Wick589. Thank you for the super chat. Said that was a long answer. All I heard was XRP. Shout out to Wick589. Let's go, baby. Is Wick's wife here too? Welcome in, Wicks. We appreciate you for being here. It's not a Frankie Candles live stream without the Wicks. That is for dang sure. All right, let's continue on. Okay. Just curious, Frankie, why do you expect VeChain to make a new all-time high? Shout out to Rana. So I think VeChain is, number one, it is a little bit of a dino coin. Maybe I'll take a, what are we on right now? We took a look at Algo. Okay, so we still have Crow. Let me just take a quick look at VeChain. Now, number one, take a look at the chart here, right? And the idea of making the new all-time high is not necessarily based. There's nothing on this chart to me that says, like, it's not like, oh, the money flow was curved a certain way, so that's going to put in a new all-time high. I just believe in the project. I think it solves a legit problem. And it's real, right? Like, you've seen VeChain was a UFC sponsor. Like, this is a real thing that is in use. And I just believe in it long term. And I really do think that it is has a lot of potential. Now, with that being said, right, does that mean that this has to make a new all-time high? No, right? You could see the same thing that happens to potentially some of the other Dino coins. You put in a lower high, and then, like, it just never puts in a new all-time high, right? It just continues, like, high, low, lower, high, low, and it just, like, goes to zero, right? And just kind of dies as a project. I don't personally feel that way about VeChain. Again, I could be wrong about that. Like I said, like, even in this case, the fundamentals don't take as much of a effect on my decisions, right? Like, at the end of the day here, like, VeChain is cheap, right? VJ, not only is it cheap from the all-time high, it's also just cheap within your value here, right? Like you're at the POC, it's kind of the midpoint of the range, but like we went to the value area low, and every time we go to the value area low, I don't want to say every time, it's not that simple, but for the most part, right, assuming the chart is agreeing with you, value area low, POC, value area high. Value area low, POC. If we could flip this 786, you're probably going to the value area high, right? So it's like you're just like pretty cheap here within your local range. You're cheap here within the overall chart, and I do believe in it fundamentally. I just think I think it really does solve a problem, and I could see that. To be honest, it like almost doesn't even matter though. Like if it you could have the best technology. If you're not going to get the hype behind it, if it doesn't have good marketing, it's not gonna get the attention it deserves. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents there. Chart looks pretty decent. It's obviously not overvalued. And yeah, I mean, again, it doesn't guarantee it, right? This could just put in a lower high and a lower low again. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of have high hopes for VeChain, to be quite honest. But let's continue on to, what was our Crow? Let's take a look at Crow. Bada boom. Okay, so yeah, all right. So this is our current Crow chart. Let me zoom out on the weekly real quick. So yeah, honestly, all these levels are still valid. You went from the high, deviated above. This is what you look at as your overvalued asset. You get back in, can't break out. POC, value area low. This is your undervalued asset. You get back into the range. POC, you play around. We're living above the POC. Right now, this is a simple chart. Remain above the POC of the range. I say the next target is the value area high. 15 cents. Pull from the lower high to the low. Let me pull some daily MPOCs on this real quick, or weekly MPOCs. Got one right here. One right here. And you got one right here. Get that a little more accurate. Monthly. Dang, you got a monthly MPOC here too. So weekly. Whoops. Weekly plus. Come on, what the heck is going on here? Plus monthly. All right, so let's come back down. And I'll re-pull that fib real quick. Let's pull it from here to here. So yeah, I would say your next level, right, you have the 786 value area high. And honestly, even more importantly, you have the weekly, monthly, 2 weekly MPOCs, a monthly MPOC in the golden pocket. These are the next targets to the upside. Overall, obviously, from the value area low, stay above the POC or eventually looking for the high, but these would be the next levels I would look at. Golden pocket, weekly and monthly MPOCs sitting between 12 and almost 14 cents. Break above that, you're just looking for the fulfill of the range into the 786. And the value area high bringing you up towards about 15 cents, between 15 and 14 cents. Once you break out above that, we can approach that at the when it calls for it. But you do have the full golden pocket 786 sitting up here. Technically, your doorway into really getting the show started here for Crow would be the crack of this 786. Break this 786, then you could look to get into your upper range and then potentially see that thing get a big move. But locally, I would watch this POC, weekly MPOC. This will be support. All right, so you would hope that you could hold above this point of control. I would say as long as you hold this, I would look for the overall eventual continuation up through the profile, right? Understanding where your resistance is. So there you go. That's what I would look at. Markets, from a market cipher perspective, this is looking very, very similar to everything else. 2-day money flow crossover, so any pullbacks would be looked at as higher lows and higher highs. So there you go. That's what I would be looking at on Crow. Let's see. Shout out to AG, said, you're such a thorough trader. You go through everything and in like order. It's great because I'm OCD and ADD. Shout out to AG. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important, right? To be quite honest, I probably should. I've been thinking about trying to keep it a little bit more simple here. But I do like to go, it might seem repetitive at times, but I think it's super important when you're looking at a chart, right? It'd be so easy for me to pull up a 30-minute time frame and just talk about this price action here, right? But if I just talk about this price action here, you're missing the big picture, right? You're missing the overall, bigger picture on where you're likely to go, right? It's like, well, in the grand scheme of things, where are we sitting? What's high time frame money flow doing, right? And not only that, but I think it's important to show how you got to where you are. And I pray that this never comes off as like I'm trying to brag that what we looked for played out. I hate that. I think it's like corny, right? It's like, but that's not why I do it, right? The reason I do it is to show you and walk you through actually the context of the actual market and like why what we looked for played out. Not, oh, look, I was right. The reason it played out is because I told you it was going to happen. Never, right? The reason I show that is to show you like, hey, guys, remember when we came down to this level and we said if we saw this confirmation or we saw this form or we held this level of support, we would see this happen? Well, look, it happened. Not to brag about myself, but to show you and give you confidence in the TA. So next time you see that happen, you can front run the level just like we do. So there you go. So yeah, shout out to you, man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, shout out to Tony. Tony sharing says V chain just like XRP when it goes. It's crazy. Yeah, shout out to Tony. All boats will rise in the banana zone. Shout out to Jedi. That's like what I was saying before. Yo, shout out to Dave Digital said, Frankie's here for the tech. Yo, shout out to Dave Digital. Listen, I'm here for the tech, I guess. I do believe in crypto, right? This is obviously, in my opinion, right, the future of finance. I think this is clear, right? Like you see the large, the powers that be, right, are starting to, I think, catch on, right? They were way later than us degenerate crypto people were. But yeah, I am in general on that side, right? Like we're here for the tech. But at the end of the day, I'm a trader, right? And as traders, we're here. And I think this goes for anybody, even people who are in it for the tech, right? You're here to make money. And this is why I always try to say, especially if you're watching this show, right? Chances are you're here. You might find crypto interesting. You might like the technology, as most of us do. But chances are you're here because you hear about the money that you can make. And this is why I try to like. There's this theme in crypto, right? We're all gonna make it. And and although I do attach to that from like a human standpoint, it is honestly one of the worst things you could possibly do, right? We're all going to make it. It's literally the opposite of that. We're not all going to make it, right? Some people are not going to sell, and they're going to be caught holding the bag. This is a PvP game. Trading anything is a PvP game, right? We're all going to make it is like nice to think about. And you do get a season, right, where it's like, oh my God, guys, look, this is exciting. We all held in, like, especially with the Mafia, like anyone who's been here since the beginning, it's like we were looking at prices down at $15,000. And here we are at 120K. That's the we're all going to make it feeling that we love. And I am here for that. But at the end of the day, right, it would be irresponsible to tell you guys we're all going to make it. We're all not going to make it, right? The Mafia will make it. But the people that don't understand what's going on are probably not going to make it, right? Because people are going to sell. And like if you're just holding on because you believe in the project, I'm not saying it's a bad thing long term, right? If you bought Bitcoin at the top of 2017 and you held it for the tech, right? You believe in it long term, well, hey, you wound up making it out. But at the end of the day, right, it's a PvP game. We're not all going to make it, especially with altcoins, right? A lot of people are going to get stuck holding the bag. So, it's like I like the feeling, right? We're all going to make it. This feels good. But it is all very, very short-lived, right? Because once the top comes in and everything goes into a bear market, it's like a lot of people hold that back. Those people don't make it, right? It's just not it's a fallacy. It's just not the truth, right? It's a beautiful thing. I love it, but it's just not the truth, right? So it's like, you can hold on to, especially with altcoins, you could say, it's the next thing. It's the next thing. I've seen so many altcoins. I've seen so many people look for this thing to be the next big thing. And they all go to zero, right? Most of them go to zero. Some of them obviously stick around. But at the end of the day, it's like just holding it because like, oh, everybody hold on. Don't sell diamond hands. That's a horrible trading strategy. It's like the worst trading strategy. So there we go. Half will make it. Shout out to Tony Roaz, probably. Let's see. Shout out to Wick589. Said the only one here for the tech is Retro Mike Tech. Shout out to Wick589. Let's go. But let's continue on here. Shout out to Justin. Said keep dumping your knowledge into us, Frankie. Shout out to Justin. Yo, shout out to Dave said, can't hit the like button. Yangmi, you're not gonna make it. Shout out to Dave. Like button easy for you. Yangmi is you're not gonna make it, I guess. Shout out to Dave Digital. Smash that like button if you guys have not already. No more round tripping. Shout out to Eugene Sky. Yeah, and hopefully if you did round trip either last cycle or you round tripped in a recent, bought the top and sold the bottom, or bought the top and held, on the way down on a recent dump. Hopefully, you have to learn over time. Never a bad time to take profits. If you're in the green, you got to pay yourself when you're there, because sometimes you don't stick around very long. Shout out to Wick says, WAGMI is what we tell our exit liquidity. Pretty much, Wick. Yeah, pretty much. All right, so let's continue on. We took a look at Crow. We took a look at Algo. We took a look at Doge. Yo, shout out to Tony Roaz. Says, no tech in crypto, just money. Let's go. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll take a look at Turbo. Shout out to Dave Lark. We'll go ahead and take a look at Turbo real quick. I actually think I have Turbo right here. Have not taken a look at Turbo in quite some time. I don't even have any TA on. Oh, wait, actually. Let's see. Turbo. All right, so here we are, right? Last time we looked at Turbo, it has been a while, but I can tell you from the Fibonacci retracements, from the low to the high. What is this? Hang on. Oh, this is from the local low to the high. From the low, all the way from the low, right? This low to this high. Golden Pocket, 786. Your two biggest levels on the chart here were the Golden Pocket value area high and your value area low. Your 786 value area high and your value area low Golden Pocket daily MPOC. If you're looking for a higher low and a higher high, you are simply looking at this, right? This would be the area you would want to bounce. If you slip this, the 786 would be the last kind of line in the sand. Once you lost that 786, you're probably going lower. But you got that nice bounce off the Golden Pocket, and what happens? You have your low, your high, your higher low, your higher high, right? We covered this almost every single day. We tapped into the value area high. We are getting a little bit of resistance up in there at about 0.0059. Resistance for sure. You do have I don't know if I would really pay that. I mean, this is 4-hour red dot. Take a look at the 8-hour VWAP coming down. So, I mean, you're at resistance. You might be able to cool off. I would just say, long-term for Turbo, doorway to higher prices, value area low, 0.0071899. Flip that to support. You could fill the rest of that range, and then eventually start targeting some higher prices, which at this point I would change completely from the high. Whoops. Give me that high. There we go. So I would be looking at this. Once you get accepted into your value area low, it opens up the door to get the rotation to about 0.01. Basically a cent. All right, so maybe you get a little correction here. You're hoping to hold above the POC. I'll pull some local support here in a second. But once you're able, this could take a long time. It could be messy. It could be confusing. But eventually, once you get out of this volume profile, I would say for like upper targets, if you break above the high here at 0.014, I'd be looking at this macro Fibonacci extension zone sitting between 0.0175 and 0.022. That would be a big, big level to look at. Bada boom. So there you go. And yeah, I mean, I don't hate this, right? You held your Golden Pocket. The idea there is low, high, higher, low, higher, high. You started to crack that high here. I mean, locally, if you do get the pullback here, if you get stuck under this value area high, simple levels to look at would be, I mean, I would have to pull it from here to the high. I would say, yeah, I mean, this would be something to look at. I can't say you're definitely going to get that full retracement down there, but it's hard to say if you have any confluence there. I'm not going to spend the time to pull up like every single level. It's just going to take forever. But I would say, from that impulse to the high, Golden Pocket 786 sits right here between 0.0051 and 0.0046. If you do get the bigger retracement back down into the profile, this would be a place that you would hope to bounce, right? You lose that 786. I'm looking down towards the POC at 41680. Is that a place I would be looking at for a significant bounce? Let's pull the full fib here from the absolute low to the high. Come on. Yeah, you have a little golden pocket confluence there as well. But this would definitely be the first level I would look at if you do continue down. If you break out and get another move up, break above this value area low, that's your doorway to higher prices. As far as market cipher B goes, I mean, that 2-day money flow. We talked about this time and time again, guys. That 2-day money flow crossover is what you're looking at to get the bigger moves to the upside. And here's almost everything getting those bigger moves up on those 2-day money flow crossovers. So absolutely beautiful to see. Bitcoin's still hovering around 19.9. Watch that 30-minute money flow crossover into the red. And also, to be quite honest, yeah, we're not going to get the 12-hour red dots. Yeah, watch that 8-hour, 30-minute red dot printed. Yeah, I would see if you get that bigger correction. If you're just tuning in, scrub back to the beginning of the stream. I drop all the sauce, all the key levels on Bitcoin. Just wanted to check in on that 30-minute money flow. Again, back in the red here with that 8-hour red dot printing. This could be the start of that bigger downtrend. But again, for full context, go scrub back to the beginning of the stream. Because with all that being said, guys, we already went over time. That's all the time I got for tonight's live stream. I appreciate everybody for being here. Like I said, just chilling in my long position, up like $8,500. Gonna see what happens here. Waiting to come up to those next key levels to find a new trade. And I don't know. Maybe when we tune in tomorrow, I will be in a short position. If not, I don't know. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time, right here, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shout out to Sergeant Squid. Shout out to GG. Shout out to Jennifer. Shout out to Dave Digital, Brody, Tony Roaz, Leo. Shout out to Vitrol, Luke. And last but not least, Jesse, our like police. Smash that like button on your way out, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, right here, same place, same time, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Frank Candles YouTube channel. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Spit shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, so nobody's into me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose, and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah.
Dude, I don't think there's enough space to, like, you're going to land at an airport near the studio? Now, I don't know if you have, like, a hovering jet, but if you try to land in the back of the studio, I don't know if you're going to have enough runway. You'll make, okay. All right, I'll be waiting out there, bro. All right, peace. All right, guys. Golden said he's going to try to land the jet in the back of the studio to say what's up for Bitcoin's new all-time high. So shout out to Golden. Shout out to the CandleMafia. I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know, on demand.
If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the